Yo, what's going on, E7 fam? Pat here, back with another video, and in this one, I want to do something a bit different. It's something I've wanted to do for a while, largely because, one, Epic 7's a really big game, and there's a lot of things to talk about it. Two, I really like podcasts. And three, I think there are awesome people in this community, and I just really want to highlight them. So hopefully this will be the first in a series of many of these videos where I just have guests on, and we just talk about issues and things in the game that I normally wouldn't get to talk about in like a how to play or like an impressions video. So in this one, as you could probably guess by my intro, I'm not alone. I'm with one of my good buddies that I met during the Orbis Caster Clash, Mr. LucentAzure.
Why, hello there, I'm Sue. But yeah, I'm really pleased to be out here with you, and like, hey, let's go ahead and see if we can make this ship set sail. I don't have any glass to break on anything, but like, let's rock.
Yeah, so something I get asked a lot is Guild Wars, because I'd never done a guide on Guild Wars. Lucent is a specialist on Guild Wars, and I'm not in a very good guild when it comes to Guild Wars. We're like very middling, like rank 500 or so. So I have a lot of my own guildmates ask me for advice, and I'm like, I am not the person for this. So Lucent, if you don't know, just tell them about your content.
Sure, I'll go ahead and I'll break that down. You're really piling me up on a really large tower right now, but like, hey, it doesn't matter if your guild is middling or anything like that. Every now and then you're going to fight some top 100 guild out of complete nowhere because everything likes to reset at every other moment.
You'll fight talentless at least once, right? We all fight talentless at least once.
I actually don't think we ever have, but like either way, like, hey, what's up everybody? My name is LucentAzure. I basically make nothing but Guild War content, and it all basically started as a means of, oh, hey, we need to have evidence for how we fight certain things because our guild is mental. So we need to have specific evidence and examples of things like, hey, why does this work? Well, it's because of this. What do you mean? Okay, so here's the thing. You just watch this and it'll make all kinds of sense. That's basically how it all started. And a lot of it really started with just a matter of like, yeah, we want to get that information out there. Like, hey, this is what it looks like. This is how like this particular speed looks, things of that nature. And then I just was like, I had a lot of free time at the time. I was like, you know, what if I just put some music over this kind of stuff here and just like try to turn it into like an entertaining format of, oh yeah, it's like a final boss kind of situation. Because like, let's be real here, guys, the actual music in Guild Wars is really bad. I turned that down to nothing, and then I had my own.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you guys don't know, yeah, he has excellent taste in music, by the way. Excellent taste.
I appreciate that. But yeah, that's how it all started. And believe it or not even like, I believe around the beginning of this year, or it was like near the end of last year, was really where I started actually putting commentary on it. It all started a long time ago, and I'll throw you this link later if you want to. But like, this all started with a friend of mine. This was way back when Euphine got buffed. And whenever she got her first buff, which was like based around, hey, Zio was on the team, gonna do silent shenanigans, and then suddenly she works, but he didn't have any of those silence initiators.
Oh no!
So he had none of them. So then he wrote a ticket to Smilegate, and then I did a dramatic reading of the ticket, and then from there I was just like, you know what, people seem to like it whenever I'm just BSing on camera. Like, yeah, let's go for it, and then I'll just keep doing whatever. Because like, there's not really a plan, guys. I just kind of like hit record and we just kind of go for it. That's generally the plan.
Oh yeah, that's kind of my plan also. I have my own way of doing things when I start off on Guild Wars. I like look at it and I try to, I don't know if this is the correct way of doing it, but I look at each of the characters and I'm like, what beats this character? What beats character B? What beats character C? And then I just pick 3 characters I think are just generically strong in that matchup. Like if I see Apocalypse Ravi, I'm taking Spirit Eye Celine because I think that matchup's pretty good. So I like mine probably doesn't look quite as optimal as like somebody who plays like in the top 100 all the time. That's generally how I do it. So do you have like a methodology, like how you decide what you're going to use when you're fighting a defense?
Oh yeah, yeah. Biggest methodology that you can always go with, like anytime you're dealing with like anything in particular, first and foremost is figure out what your role is in your guild. Are you one of those guys who goes in first for the sake of scouting, or do you just go in later because in my particular case, hey, I have to go in later. I work a job. So like I don't
Yeah.
have time to actually go first thing in the morning.
Hmm.
So the big thing that you want to do is like, hey, if you're one of those that goes in later, just look at what your team, what your guild mates do. Like that was one of the recent things that we actually got in Guild War. It was like this is a couple of years ago or whatever, but you can check the actual history of the
Hmm.
things that your teams do, that your guildies do. And you have no idea how helpful that actually is, because just having any form of visual representation for what you're fighting, just it makes a huge difference. And what you were saying before, like things like Apocalypse Ravi, and then you fight that with Spirit Isolane, it's all a matter of who's on the team in particular. Like, hey, is this a one person is a threat, or is it like two threats, or are you dealing with mitigation? So let's say we're fighting Apocalypse Ravi and then like Conqueror Lilius and then like Icarina. That sounds annoying.
Yes.
So here's what you would do with that use. I look at all of this from a sake of who baits who. And this is where you
Mhm.
also need to understand particular AI formatting, which I don't have the list of this in front of me, but some units have different AI depending on
Oh,
what's
okay.
actually happening. Like for example, Assassin Sid, he doesn't automatically go into like light units. He
Yeah, he
goes into
goes.
whoever is the fastest on the CR bar. Same with Zio, by the way.
Oh,
That's
okay.
another big thing
Yeah.
some people tend to forget, and you can bait that with things like Sinful Angelica, stuff like that. But like we were talking before, like with Conqueror Lilius and then Apocalypse Ravi. So one thing that I like to do is I always like to go as slow as possible because it
Oh,
seems the
that's me.
most consistent.
That's
Like
me.
it's all about consistency, because like if you're a super speed monkey, you're probably going to just like go into it, hey, I'm going to cleave this. If it doesn't work, oh well, whatever, I don't care. I don't look at anything like that. I always go about it as slow as possible. So for hey, Apocalypse Ravi, I'm more than likely going to have Doris as my first pick,
Oh,
just
I like Doris a
because
lot.
Doris is not only a healer, but she also is a CR pusher. She also has death buff. She also has HP regen. She has all these things, and she also get like a little tiny little baby heal every time she's hit by a dark unit. Really,
Hmm.
really useful in that particular situation. Sure, you're going to take some injury damage, but hey, not that big of a deal. Depends on what all you have in your reserves for what you're going to be fighting.
Yeah.
So then there's
Yeah.
Conqueror Lilius. She's going to go in with all her annoying and just annoying stuff in general. Hey, attack down, non-attack skill, non-attack skill. And then it's just a matter of how are you going to deal with those particular units. So like Icarina and Conqueror Lilius, you can go about it. What is anti-barrier? That's one way you can do it. You
Yeah.
could
So,
also
so like
bring a
OPSIG, yeah, or like DJB or something.
OPSIC,
Ning
DJB,
Ning
and
Ning
also
actually too.
Arunca.
Runka. Oh yeah,
And
Runka's a big one. I always forget about her.
Arunca is huge right now because a
Oh,
lot of
really?
stuff. Yeah, it's actually pretty big because what's the biggest, most annoying thing that we're seeing right now? It's Navy Captain Landy,
It's
right?
Landy, yeah, and she's always paired with like
And
Arwell or Conqueror. Yeah, yeah.
that's turn one, free dead Navy Captain Landy. If you go in with something
Let
like,
me write this down.
say, if you go in with a fast Sinful Angelica that just gives attack buff, or even Mediator Cowric, some of y'all have fast Mediator Cowrics, just go in, attack buff, and then depending on really like the speeds of your units, which you more than likely should get your first turn with Arunca, just go in, dead. First turn, especially if you have the made Chloe art, or not the made Chloe, the Chloe
The
artifact,
Chloe
Little Queen's
artifact,
huge
yeah,
crown.
Little Queen. Yeah, I think that's what most people probably play on at this point. I know, like, I don't play a ton of Arunca. Like, Redos is pretty much like the person I modeled my Arunca after because he's like the Arunca enjoyer. And I saw he had it, so that's why I was like, yeah, I guess I just guess I'm playing this on it.
I was
So
actually a pretty big Arunca fan myself. It was just a matter of like she was just filling the void that Hoi Young used to have whenever Hoi Young was good.
yeah, so yeah, it's one of those things, I guess. So with a defense like we were talking about, like that, you have to recognize that the common thing between Conquer and Karina is that they both have barriers. I should probably go for barriers. Whereas, like I said, my approach would I would have just been like, oh, Spirit Eye Celine is really good versus a Ravi, but like Spirit Eye Celine is terrible versus Karina, so
Mm-hmm.
that's not like the best matchup. I would probably still do it. I would just go YOLO, and if I get there, I get there. But that's not consistent, right? That's what we're talking about. Consistency is really, really important.
Yeah. Consistency is the most important thing, which is why I have a very, very heavy bias to using healers for almost everything that I do. In
Yeah,
fact, I overuse healers.
yeah, I get that criticism from a lot of my guildmates because like I play like a Soul Weaver on every team, and then some
Mhm.
teams I play double Soul Weaver, which I don't know if it's a good team, but for a while there when we were in that meta where everyone was on Conqueror, Shu, Senya, I just brought Lone Cresta, Bologna, Rowana, Destina to all of those, and I would just like basically hit auto and win because they could never kill
Yeah.
me.
Yeah,
So
it works. And especially like if you want to move into like units that are absolutely 100% worth building, like I'll tell you right now, if you want to build like one unit in particular, I don't care what people tell you, don't care what people say about it. It's Dark Corvus. This
yeah,
unit is the most busted unit in Guild War, period. He has literally one weakness, injury.
that's
That's
it.
it.
Uh,
That's the only weakness he has. He used to, you used to be able to stun him. Can't do that anymore. And the only like big things that are really annoying on stun are like Arrowell. Well, hey, you're just giving me free cooldown reduction. And then he's a massive wall. You put proof of valor on him, he will tank literally any light meta team, period. And if you just have some form of support with him, you will just destroy any team, period.
period.
Unless
Wow.
it's injury. It
Proof
will
on Dark
almost
Corvus.
always work.
That's on it. See, because I play, you know this, I play a lot of World Arena. So for me, like proof is always tied up in other things. So I had never even considered Proof of Valor and Dark Corvus, but like that makes a lot of sense. Like if you're on Proof Dark Corvus, like you should just win every fight. Like unless you're getting injured by like Aravi, like you said, or like a Bellion. But I don't think I would bring him into Bellion anyway. And Bellion also is just probably
Yeah.
not generally played. I feel like on defenses anymore. So yeah, that makes sense. Like I never thought about proof, but like I knew Dark Corvus, like that's like always been in the back of my head. That's the Guild War unit, even before he got the no stun buff. Like that's always been the Guild War unit. Like I don't know if it's true or not, but I've heard memes from like top Guild War guilds that like if you don't have Dark Corvus, like we're just not even accepting you because you have to have him.
They Well, a lot of them like sometimes it's the opposite where they're like they'll just make fun of you for using them because it's like a free win essentially.
Yeah,
But like the big thing is it's a matter of if you have proof, because if you don't have proof, a little thing called Sword of Cycling Seasons Savior Aiden might actually one tap you if
ooh,
you don't have proof of valor. So which yeah, like this is the reason why like I'm shilling him so hard. It's like, yeah, it's a meme to like talk about him because he's so brain dead easy to bring. Hey, just bring two healers with Dark Corvus, you can literally like destroy almost any comp. But then it's a matter of like, how do you make this engaging and entertaining for yourself and for the people who are watching you if you happen to make content for it? So
yeah.
that's where you don't use Dark Corvus for literally everything. It gets
Yeah,
really
yeah,
boring
yeah.
really quick.
I understand. I used to refer to him as the king of Resident Sleeper gameplay back in the day when I would advocate for his viability for like selectors and things like that because it's certainly not for everybody. I know people are just like just cleave it, and I'm like, yeah, but Dark Corvus is a free win, and even me like this past Go War I went 2 wins and a draw. I could have very easily went 3 wins, but I just didn't want to play Dark Corvus.
Yeah, exactly. That's like the stigma that he has. And
Yeah.
if you're ever fighting something like just mono light, there's no reason not to just bring him because we don't have a lot of really great defensive tank units specifically for light. The only really other one that you have that can work is Shadow Knight Phyllis. But you have to have specific setup for Shadow Knight Phyllis to really make her work. For example, a limited artifact called Rocket Punch, which
Yeah.
is really, really dumb.
Yeah, no, that's one of those ones that makes the rounds like every once in a while. Like KJ has been playing Rocket Punch, Phyllis or Phyllis, however you want to call her, for last couple of weeks in preseason. Like I've been watching him, and I'm like, man, this unit does a lot of work there. It's not like the best thing, but it definitely catches people off guard. So, um,
Yeah, she has a lot of just like extra stuff that's in her kit. She's probably one of my favorite units that I use
mhm.
pretty regularly for a lot of the fights that I do, just because she has so much stuff to explain. She really makes it very easy to fill content.
Okay, yeah.
Just talking about her
I mean,
kit.
I feel like any specialty change, like even I forget all the specialty change things. Like Prof Boy, when like
Oh Lord.
he didn't get the barrier skill rune, I was like, wait, what? Like, why didn't it have barrier? And then like he just didn't get like Opsid cleaved by Valky, and then he won that game, and I was like, what? Like, is this like Galaxy Braid or just like Was this like intentional? Like you just chose not to get all of the runes?
I think you're playing way too extreme at that point
Yeah,
because you
I would
have
still go
so
plus
many
30.
other units.
Yeah, I would go like plus 30 still. But yeah, you would say Phyllis, I guess, is one of those units because that's a good segue. Like, what are like good free to play units or like good units you think most people have access that they should have built? Because like we already talked about Doris, like because Doris was the one that I think of. Like when I think of Guild Wars, I think Dark Corvis, Rowana, and
Destina, maybe?
so no, I said just Doris. It's like Doris, Rowana, Dark Corvus. Like those are like the three I always think of. Like, hey, if you've got these, like these are the ones to get. But I'm curious, like, what other ones do you think are like really good?
I'm gonna actually drop you one of my strategies that I've used for like the past. You don't really see it a whole lot anymore, especially after the Moon Bunny buff, which the Moon Bunny buff is insane. Like
Yeah.
it's actually destroying so much stuff that I don't even have like proper strategies for these things right now. But you guys, you remember Lewis and Yeshu?
Yeah.
Probably the worst one in my opinion. It really is probably one of the worst defenses in the game. But there are 2 3-star units you can bring and 1 5-star unit, which straight up just makes it free to where you can just hit auto. And that is Shadow Knight Phyllis in the back row, Christy on the team, and Rowana. Literally hit auto, you cannot lose.
Wow.
Especially now.
So it's almost like because Phyllis makes it so you just don't take damage from like extra tax counters. Like it drastically reduces that damage. Christy makes it so you can't be debuffed. I assume that's Phyllis in the back. And then Rowana just heals you off of the duels and extra. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like you take very little damage, and when you are taking that damage, it's just being returned as health from Rowana.
Yeah, because literally with that team, your only lose condition is if Shu just goes crazy. If Shu goes crazy and S1, S2s you literally every time, that was how you could lose. Now, after the buff that Shadow Knight Phyllis got, where her own effects actually affect her now, I legit didn't even know that was a thing. Wow. I thought she always had it.
Oversight.
But now, now she just straight up has it. She takes like 4K damage from like an S1, S2. That's nuts. That's nothing.
Well, that is nothing. Like, wow, okay. So when I do my account regear this week, I guess I'm building a Shadow Knight.
See, now here's the funny thing. That was how I used to do it, but now with like Moon Bunny, you could probably do some Moon Bunny shenanigans into that.
Yeah, that's just the number one character I got to regear right now.
Yeah, like Moon Bunny is easily one of the biggest glow up characters I think I've ever seen, of where it's just like, I hate this unit. This like none of this like works. Just none of this works. And then one small change to the S2, S3. Oh, hey, cool. Everything works now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of bad for me because, like, Sarmia is not super... Like, she's still strong, but she's not, like, the best in the Moon Bunny, I feel like, now. Because, like, you're going to always give her that. So, yeah. Sarmia is a character I always try and play in any facet of PvP just because I really like her. And I think she's really good.
That's the most important thing with Guild Wars, is you just have to try and make it fun in some way without making it look like you're throwing.
Yeah.
Like that's the most important thing that I feel with it, which is why sometimes I like to challenge myself and use 18 units in one fight, which I guess segue number 2. What would we do to make Guild Wars a better form of content? Because honestly, it's been the same for 5 years.
Yeah, that's a good way to go. What do you think we need to do to shake up the state of Guild Wars? Aside from like the thing that everybody always asks for, which is like, oh, top 20 should get like a skin or something. Like, because I feel like that would just like, that would create some pretty bad feels overall. And I think it would just also consolidate even more a lot of the player base to like the top end guilds. Right?
Yeah,
like,
what you just said is exactly the thing, because like a lot of guilds, it's like a lot of people in there are really casual, but like you just need to have some basic knowledge going into it, and you can kind of win a lot of the times. Every now and then you'll get like beat by some kind of trap or whatever, but like the what you just described, yeah, it would just help the like top end guilds immensely because they have super good gear. That's why they're there.
Yeah.
So, and you'd have to make the margins way bigger than like top 20 or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but no, just like in general, what do you think would we have to do to shake it up? Like, is there something you could think? Because like again, it's not my realm of expertise, so I would think like you'd want to do something where it's like, maybe like for these 2 weeks, certain characters can't be used on defense, or like there's a penalty like Hall of Trials, like certain things get buffs, debuffs, things like that to
Now,
incentivize different strategies.
Now, I've thought about this like a while, like a long time ago, and you're on the right track. But what you just described, like, makes them is so negative to using a unit. So, like, let's say, for example, it was what you just said. So, hey, you can't use Conqueror Lilius because she takes 50% more damage or whatever. People would be pissed.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true. Yeah,
just
newer
especially
players that
because
yeah, they don't have a lot.
And so, like, the big thing I would say is just incentivize rewards for meeting your rule expectations. So maybe more mystic metals if you were to do whatever. Hey, these particular units, if you use them in your defense for this month or whatever, then if you either are beaten or you have a defense, you just straight up get more medals.
I
I
would
could
love
maybe see
that.
that, like, but then you'd have to make a really large pick because you can't just do like what they do with balance patches, because that's not enough. You would have
Yeah,
to do like maybe 2 or even 3 times that number, especially because our hero roster is getting absolutely insane. Like,
yeah,
we
it's
have
very big. Tristan actually ran out of space when I was talking the other day. He actually has all 300 spots. He has 299 spots filled. It's like it's pretty wild. And like consistently, and most of them are geared because he keeps a
oh
lot of
yeah.
like he keeps like certain characters as storage holders, and a lot of other ones are just oddly specific like PVE scenarios for him to make content with. Like he has certain characters geared certain ways for videos. So yeah, we definitely
Hmm.
need more space for sure. But yeah, no, I'm on board with like some kind of like modifier if you use certain things on like defense or offense to get more rewards, because like Mystic Metal's like it's you've watched some of my stuff, so you know like I think that the biggest thing right now is that the new and intermediate player experience needs a little bit of help. Gearing's a little bit difficult. Getting ML5s is a bit difficult because like if you're coming into this as like Prof Boy's been playing for what, like almost 10 months now, like a little less than a year at this point.
I thought it was even less than that, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just like like he's soldiering on with like a lot of units that he just happened to get. He's like lucky with, but like some people aren't so fortunate. So I can't even imagine how it must feel to only have like 2 or 3 ML5s as a year one player. It's like how are you supposed to catch up? And I think Guild Wars is a pretty good way to deliver that with the multipliers like you're talking about.
Yeah, it would just be something to incentivize, and also just the mere fact that there was a time, probably not even like 8 or 9 months ago, where just you were literally fighting the same thing
Yeah.
for a long time, and it was just, this is the most miserable I have been while playing the game, just because it's the same. It is the same stuff over and over, and it's either a matter of like, sure, it was a matter of figuring out what all works. Like I said, like the Lucent shoe team, I sure didn't have an answer for that for like the first like month or so, and then I found it. It's like, lol, I don't even play the game to beat it. So, but yeah, like, I would just like some form of shakeup, maybe just something to incentivize you to engage with the mechanics of the system instead of punishing the player for having said units. Then that
Yeah.
way you can still have your meta defense, but then like, hey, I'm making like 2 or 3 times more mystic metals than you because
Yeah.
I'm trying to do it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Um, at this point, like I said, that the last thing, only other thing I want to ask is like for newer players, like what do you think they should like? Any pointers for building a defense? Because like I'm pretty bad at building a defense. I just look at what I see other people work with, or I just put a character like Navy Captain Landy on my team because like this character's OP. So it's just like I'm just gonna throw it on there.
There is legit one rule, one very, very big rule that you can always take into account for anything on defense, and you can use it for literally anything. Hey, do I want to fight this, or how much RNG is on your team? Just anything that if you go into said unit, something happens. That's
Yeah,
usually something that you want to do. So anything. And also another big thing is like when you're fighting stuff and then you just look at somebody's team, he's like, I don't want to fight
yeah. It's
that.
just like
Then
you look
that's
at it, you're like,
probably, yeah.
yeah. It's like oh, it's Ran, and then the Mercedes and some other like unit where I just get punished for existing, right? Ran not so
Hmm.
much in recent ever since I realized like Rimuru is just like dunks that guy, but like you know what I mean. Like it's like oh here's a fast thing I don't feel like dealing with. Here's a counter thing I don't feel like dealing with. Here's a character with like a really annoying passive or something that makes it difficult to kill. I don't want to fight that. So yeah, I guess that
Yeah.
rule does make a lot of sense. The more annoying the team, the better.
Yeah, and generally it's a matter of like figuring out what your place is in the game. This is actually not even a joke. Find your identity in Epic 7. Are you a counter player? Do you like speed? Do you like to just do something really out of the box and weird that makes people look at your defense a second time and go like, "Well, I can just like do this, right?" If they doubt themselves, then I think you're doing something right.
Yeah.
So because then you could have something just wildly out of left field that they just straight up didn't see. Now that can kind of work on defense, but the problem is if you're a big tower and you do something weird, you'll get reported. And if you're reported on, people will know your gimmick and you're dead.
Yeah. Okay. I gotcha. I gotcha. So
Yeah.
for me, I got to be more consistent. I can't be a gimmick because I'm kind of like the anchor that keeps people out of the stronghold.
Hey, I mean, it's fine. My defense isn't even anything really special. Like right now, I'm rocking a Zeo Remnant Violet and like a Senya team, which is strictly there just to bait Doris's because it will usually kill them. Because Doris can handle a dark bait, can handle as a dark bait really well. But if you ever are like getting hit multiple times, you might die.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that it can do. And then my other one is just a typical like Conqueror Lilius Mercedes and Navy Captain Landy, just because it's RNG City.
Yeah, mine right now I think is like, I think it's like Conquer Landy Illinav. I think it might be because a lot of people really expect the Landy to counter a lot, so they kind of bring like anti-counter stuff like Rowana, and try to play like a longer game against it, and then it's just like, well, here's an Illinav with a ton of injury on it. By the way, like if you kill the Landy first, like you probably use something green to do it. Now you have to fight this Illinav that if it high rolls, you're just dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I fought that just the other day with Lethe, Dark Corvis, and Rowana, just because Rowana was the bait for Illinav. The Illinav was on speed set, so it wasn't even on counter or Elbrus, and it also wasn't on injury. So it's like, okay, so I have you covered. And then there was like the Navy Captain Landy, provoke that once. Okay, cool, never have to worry about the S3. Because that's the one biggest thing that I think is really scary that I don't think enough people are doing, is pairing up in Navy Captain Landy with something that is injury.
Yeah,
and I don't think enough people are doing that.
Yeah, Tristan again put me onto that. He was like, "I'm playing Mort," and I was like, "Yeah, but Mort's boring. Let's play Illinav, baby." I love Illinav. So, yeah, that's kind of how I would do it. But yeah, again, just in summation, just having an annoying defense is just really, really strong. Mm-hmm. So before I wrap up, is there anything else you want to like let people know about Lucent?
Oh, not really. But if you guys want to come and check out any and all of my content, because hey, my memory isn't good enough. I usually reference my own videos because I can't remember things a lot of the times. If you ever want to come and check me out, I'm on YouTube at LucentAzure. And if you're looking for the guy who has like 700 something odd Guild War videos, that would be me. So there you go.
Yeah, I'll link his channel down in the video description for you guys on the channel. Please check this man out. Please sub to him. Like he is criminally underwatched and underappreciated, I feel like, in this community. He is hilarious. He has excellent taste in music. I think you guys will have a blast with his content. So thank you so much, Lucent, for coming on. Also, let me know down in the comments below, just in general, who else should we get on this series? Like, I want to keep doing these. I would like to have Lucent back again on a different topic. Is there other stuff you'd want to hear him talk about? Again, anything, just put it down in the comment section down below. So that wraps up, I guess, our first one of these like mini podcasts. I don't have a name for it. Maybe Sue Talks or something like that. Hopefully,
you know what? Here you go. I'll go in and I'll set you off. Like, it's Sue Talks. Over and out.
All right, thank you guys for watching. Thank you so much, Lucent. I'll catch you guys all in the next one. Bye now.
Yep. Later, guys.